Hello, and welcome to another episode of the VMcast. With me today, I have a couple of members of my chapter, Vigilia Mortis, and we are going to discuss the recent AMA, which the devs put out. There's been a lot of good subjects being brought up over this on the official forums, a lot of chatter about certain topics, and we're going to delve into them today and discuss, in our own opinions, how we feel about them. Before we do that, we're going to introduce ourselves. Of course, I'm Chapter Master Valkr, leader of Vigilia Mortis, and with me I have some of my members who are going to introduce themselves now. Thank you.
I'm Brother Calith, Killboy Fraggins Bellarius. I've ruined this podcast once and aim to do so again.
I'm Korn from the Blood Angels, and I shall be talking today, and I was in the first and second podcast.
I'm Korn Sarum of the Death Spectres, and I was in the previous podcast dedicated to the previous podcast.
To chaos.
I forgot. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Hey everyone, I'm Traejun of the Dark Angels, captain of the 4th Company in Vigilia Mortis, massive 40k fan, because Grimdark.
Oh, thanks everyone for joining us today. Let's delve right into it. Right, we're all aware that the devs have done their AMA this weekend, and there's a lot of stuff that we found out. We've decided that we're going to pick the topics that each one of us want to talk about, and then we're all just going to discuss them. I think first off, my topic that I want to talk about is the announcement that Black Templars may not even be a choice for the 5th chapter.
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. Now, on the official forums, there has been a lot of discussion. There's been threads closed, there's been people arguing with each other about stupid things, in my opinion. But yeah, what do you guys feel about Black Templars maybe not being chosen as the 5th chapter in EC?
Well, I think
Personally,
that the reason for such reaction... It is no problem. The reason for this reaction is that it coincided with Black Templars being, shafted in the codexes. I think if that didn't happen, no one would pay so much attention to it, but now it reinforces the rumors that Black Templars might be going for good.
There's also the other big problem, which is the fact this whole thing's named Eternal Crusade, which is the Black Templars' entire gimmick. So I imagine more than a few people, plus those who'd seen Dark Millennium, were desperately hoping they'd be a major part of this.
Yeah, but on that front of the whole, the Eternal Crusaders, of course, they are Eternal Crusaders. I wouldn't... Would you go as far as say that they are the Eternal Crusaders? Because there's a lot of Crusading chapters out there now. You know, that
well, their bloody flagship's named after it.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. You see, my personal opinion on the whole matter is that, first off, let me put it down that I'm a huge Templar fan because I'm a huge Imperial Fist fan. If Imperial Fists were in this game, I wouldn't roll a Space Wolf. But my Space Wolves are my second choice chapter because Imperial Fists were in there. So with Templars not being in it, I was torn a bit because on one hand they are Sons of Dawn, but on the other hand maybe the Sons of Dawn are actually getting put in, the original ones, which I think is needed. I think you need the original chapters in before you start adding second founders. And I'm not just saying, add Imperial Fists in. I wouldn't mind to see Raven Guard, Salamanders, Iron Hands, any of them. I think what they should do, if they're going to add other chapters in, they need to add first founding in before any other chapter. That's my personal opinion.
for me personally, as you know, I'm a big White Scar fan. White Scars didn't make it in for obvious reasons. You can't have every Space Marine running around on a bike. It just wouldn't work in that type of game. And I was disappointed, but you have to go with what they can do. So, Black Templars not put in for me is it's kind of sucky, but you just have to get on with it and pick a different chapter. I mean, it's still 40k. You can still pick Space Marine. Yes, it's not your favorite, but it's still going to be fun.
Exactly.
And hell, I played even if you could only Ultramarine, and I really don't like Ultramarines. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was my point.
I couldn't. Sorry about that.
Oh, sorry, go on, Traejun. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I guess I just couldn't agree more with the way that you described it. I think the first founding chapters need to be the first in, and with respect to the Black Templars, it would feel kind of wrong to have them in, but not the Imperial Fists, which is the chapter that they came from.
I don't know personally. I mean, I can understand it from that perspective, but then you've got to consider the fact of the how well established they are and the more recognised chapters. This might be vary from place to place, but I know more people who recognise the Black Templars as a major force than, say, I think it was Salamanders and White Scars.
Yeah, that's true. But the thing that I can't understand is that people are starting to turn on each other over this subject, which is really getting out of hand. Yeah. I think people need to realise that at the end of the day, we should be happy that we're actually getting a Warhammer 40k MMO. This time last year, our dreams were shattered with DMO being lost to the warp. You know, as Khan stated, I don't mind if they have my worst hated loyal chapter in the game. As long as I can play Space Marine in a 40k MMO, I'm happy. That's me. I'm happy. And I think people need to realise that we are lucky actually getting a team like this and a setting to playing like this. And I on that subject of the team and stuff, I'm really pleased that the actual team have actually been posting the forums in these certain threads, because there's so many threads popping up now about this, and you know, you're getting some lot because everyone's just going on at each other. You had Steve Lunkin coming on trying to explain to people, but you just can't get through to some people, and it's really irritating sometimes. I think people just need to step back and just say, okay, they made this choice, let's just move on. And you never know, they may get put in down the line. So just don't panic. Do not panic.
There's over 1,000 different chapters in 40k, so you have to be ready that your favorite chapter will not be included in the game, because it's simply impossible to have all the chapters in.
And
couldn't agree more.
And I think, you know, if they do end up adding, say they end up adding all the founding chapters. Now, each founding chapter, bar Grey Knights, which are not chapter to me, I'm not going to get into that. Each second founding, third founding, fourth, etc., come from these founding chapters. So if I can't play a Black Templar, I'm happy to play an Imperial Fist, even though they're completely different for what they are. They're still Sons of Dawn, if you're a Dawn fan, so it shouldn't be that much of a problem. Anyway, that was my subject on the matter. Calith, did you ever find anything you want to talk about on the AMA?
I was actually interested in the inclusion of Psychers, especially how they described their effects on the battlefield. I imagine the way we were discussing Psychers previously, especially on the first podcast, I was imagining someone who'd be able to use buffs and certain effects around them while using the standard weapons. But from the signs of what they're describing, they were effectively using psychic attacks exclusively while losing out on a lot of equipment. How do people think that will affect the class or the way they will be played in the game?
Well, do you think that's down to a certain race first off? Because I'm sure they said that the Psyker race, there'll be a class that will use Psyker more than weapons. Now, the only race I know that uses a lot of psychic power that's been announced in this game are the Eldar. Now, is that going to be the advantage for the Eldar? Is that they're going to have a lot of psychic power attacks over, you know, the Space Marines using bolters, you know, Orcs using all their Dakar, etc., etc.?
Well, I'm not sure, to be honest, because we've had some stuff mentioned about the Eldar using Psychers, but it's only a certain degree so far. All I'm thinking is the fact that there's been a lot of non-information about it, shall we say. We know they're involved. We know it's going to be more heavily than we expected. But the problem is we don't quite know how it affects each race, and well, as you say, we might have librarians or something using bolters instead if they are a support class.
And they were saying for librarians would be a hero class, if I remember right.
Oh, okay, never mind then.
You have to use resources to beat. So if it is psych attack with librarians, I don't mind that so much. But like, you've got your chaos sorcerers, and there's a possibility that they could be a standard class, which is also cool as far as I'm concerned. Because obviously we lost.
I think that's exactly how it's going to be. I think maybe Eldar and Chaos would make sense to have them not be hero class, but perhaps librarians and the orc equivalent odd boys would probably have to be a unlocked hero type class.
I'm actually quite pleased to know that librarians will be a hero class, because that means their powers will be quite substantial, since they're so rare. And that's a nice thing to have.
Now,
a very powerful librarian.
Now, with the whole hero class, I know we're just going to subject to the Psyker, is that going to be like a max suit in PlanetSide 2, where, you know, if you get enough resources and enough stuff, you can just buy a hero class, do you think? Or is it going to be more skill tree based? Which I hope it is skill tree based, to be honest.
I could see it being both, to be honest, to some degree. I mean, imagine you get bonuses towards
I don't mind it being resource. I don't mind it being resource based, as long as you can't build them resources up too fast. So you're not going to see like 50 psychers running around in a group just blasting stuff off the face of the planet.
Yeah, you know, like you said, I don't want to see something like in PlanetSide 2. And remember you used to do max zergs and stuff to knock something out. I don't want to say, okay, everyone go in and get out your hero class and let's rush the place. I think that was completely stupid.
Let's get 20 Manius cargoes. Sounds good.
God.
Well, that was actually another thing I was going to mention, considering how they seem to be citing how heavily psychic powers will be used, at least among these classes. Whether you felt they should be limited in some way, but seems fair enough. But what do you? But let's say, how do you think they should be used for each race? Do you think? I mean, let's say for the orcs, for example, do you think they should be used to buff certain aspects of vehicles because of how their technology works? Or do you think the Eldar should be using this on their best known talent?
You see, what we know from lore, Eldar are the people who are the psychers. You know, they are the top of the food chain when it comes to psychers. So I think they should personally have the most powerful attacks when it comes to doing psychic stuff. Space Marines, I see Space Marines as like the jack of all trades. They're good at it, but you know, they're not strong in certain areas. You know, they're just they're average across the board. With orcs, that's a good idea. Maybe, you know, if you have an orc, you can buff a truck or buff an actual group of guys with their guns to make them fire a bit fast. I don't know, something cool like that. You know, more Daka shooting.
Maybe even a teleport the weird boys.
Well, I was going to say, this sort of buffing stuff does sound a lot more like what the Eldar are best known for, though, rather than, as you were saying, direct power. They're known for a lot more subtlety more than anything else.
On the whole thing of the lore in the game as well, I know. I think it was David who actually said, someone asked, "Will the lore affect the game?" Now he said, obviously we want to go as much with the lore as possible, but you have to realise that the gameplay can't always go with the lore, which is obviously true. So I think we're going to see some differences when it comes down to it, you know, with certain aspects of the game.
Yeah, I think absolutely there's going to have to be some degree of lore bashing just to make it fun to play, because that's the first and foremost important thing in game design. But I will say that on the subject of psychers, and I will probably never play one, but one of the things that was said, and I can't remember who said it, was that you'll have to decide which abilities you bring with you as kind of part of a loadout for, let's say, a librarian, and I think that's great. So you can come in with more of a support type.
Right.
Yeah, you can come in with more of a support type mentality if that's what you want to do for that particular operation, or you can, you know, set yourself up to be more offensively minded. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. Now on the whole aspect of psychers, like you said, Cal, what advantages and disadvantages do you think of using psychic attacks? Do you think we could see in game? If you're using psychic attacks, and if you're, say, a Space Marine, you're opening yourself up to a whole bucket of horrors, more or less. So, do you think, if you're going around blasting people constantly, you should have like a debuff or something should happen?
Well, I was actually
the warp.
That's what I was pretty much going to say. I was thinking they should have Perils of the Warp affected somehow. Let's say don't have perhaps cooldown periods so much as a certain number of, let's just say, points to be easy or something like that you need to use. If you start to overextend yourself for your powers, spamming a certain attack continuously, you'll start to suffer from Perils of the Warp in some way, perhaps. It could be in playing games just taking damage, exploding, or turning into a bloodthirster, I don't know.
Turn into a bloodthirster.
Like they did the plasma cannon in Space Marine, how it overheats?
Yeah.
You have your little bar. If you get right to the end of that, maybe you implode or something crazy like that.
Yeah, something like that. Like, say, if you've got a librarian constantly lobbing fireballs and just keeps doing it continuously, suddenly his arm will disappear or something like that.
Lightning bolt.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, let's move on to the next subject. Thanks, Cal, for that. Khan, what did you find from the AMA that you liked?
Yeah, well, obviously, I asked them the question about support classes, because that's one thing I really, really wanted to know about. Because I was kind of hoping for Tech Marine, and they're still working on it, so they're still deciding on what they're going to put in for support classes. But they gave us a brief overlook, and they were saying, like, Apothecary, which is also having a healer running around. But how do you think you work an Apothecary on the battlefield?
You see, I wouldn't like a class where you're behind everyone going, you gotta heal, because I don't think that's not that kind of, this is not that kind of game we're going to be dealing with. I think it's more or less, you're there to, if someone goes down, maybe it's only you who can get them up or something.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
I don't think we're going to have something like Planet Side 2 where you have that healing gun shooting people, because that'd just be stupid.
God forbid that.
Yeah.
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 Well, everyone knows as a Apothecary, you've got the North Carrier. Do you think they'd be put there in as an execution as well as a help?
You could do.
So you can maybe
remove
North
the corrupted
Carrying
GC.
someone through the face, something like
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
Now, with like you mentioned with support classes, what do you think would fall under support? Obviously, you've got Apothecary, you've got Tech Marine. Would you find like a Devastator, like heavy fire support? Would that fall under that? Would you think? Or
No, I think they're going to be in the 3 core classes. Like they've got 3 core. So you've got Assault, Tactical, and Dev, and then you've got your support, and then you've got your hero class.
So it'd be more the type you have a distinctive role beyond just killing things.
what about maybe
Yes.
would a chaplain fall under support if they add chaplains? This is if they add chaplains. I know it's not been confirmed yet, but if they add chaplains, would that be a support, or would that deserve to be a hero class?
I'd say hero personally.
I guess you could do it as a support if you, I don't know, maybe if you gave an inspiring shout, maybe it could buff your teammates to shoot faster,
Precisely.
reload
That's-
quicker or something like that.
I think
Chaplain sings a litany and buffs anyone within X range of the chaplain. That would be a perfect support class.
I think the scary thing might be though is that if you could more or less select like a chaplain support class as a support class where you can come in as a chaplain, I think it might be a bit scary because chaplains obviously in the lore, I think everyone who is rolling Space Marine loves chaplains. I'm not personally going to roll a chaplain, but I love chaplains. I think it might be a bit scary seeing just groups of chaplains running around the battlefield screaming at each other, "You kill him! No, I shall kill him!" Rah.
And there's also the fact they're best known for carrying, well, basically power weapons and some seriously meaty stuff into combat, which seems it just seems to be be a lot better suited to hero classes than something you could easily access early on.
That's my impression as well. They should be more fitted as a hero class because they're usually much more capable than other Marines around them.
Yeah, I think I'd
Always.
go with hero class for a
Yes, sir.
chaplain. Now, Terminators, do you think they fall into hero class, or do you think they'll be like tactical
I'm
support?
pretty sure they're gonna go hero.
Mm.
Even though they do work as support, I think they'll put them in hero so they can restrict them down
But
with the resource.
maybe a cheaper hero, which wouldn't be as expensive and difficult to
Yep.
procure as real
Yeah,
heroes.
exactly.
You see, I'd say equipment
Same
personally.
with
But
Dreadnought too.
I'd say equipment
Agreed.
personally for Terminator armor, but that's just me.
I agree with you completely. It's got to be something that you requisition and a Space Marine can get into it if
Yeah.
it's assigned.
And I know we've discussed it before in previous podcasts, but with stuff like that, I'd really like it where you can only get requisition for stuff like that if you're actually working in a squad of people. You know,
Oh, yeah.
you're not going out as a loner. Maybe if you're following all the commander's orders and stuff, and you're actually getting stuff done on the field, the more commander's orders you follow, maybe you get some special, some special money or something, however they're going to work it, that goes into that certain pool, so you can actually spawn stuff like that, because you're actually doing stuff properly on the battlefield.
I
Well,
really
I was-
like this idea, because it would not only balance out the requisition gain of players, but also give players incentives to follow the commander's orders.
Yep, that's it.
We see what I was. Sorry, what I was going to say was, remember we discussed strike forces during the first podcast. Have it be a achievement or tier unlock for Terminator honors, meaning it could only be unlocked on a squad-based level, not as an individual.
Yeah, I'm with you all the way for that. I wish. Well, I'm really hoping they will do that. I don't think they will do that, but I'm hoping they will do that. It's the same concept as Warhammer Online, where,
Exactly.
you had levels, and the higher level you got, because you actually did stuff with your guild or whatever it's called in Warhammer Online. I think they're called clans. The more stuff you unlock, you can unlock banners, cool banners and stuff for PvP, which you could unlock for this game as well, which would be cool to inspire people. But yeah, support class. What's going to be in there? I think it was a good subject to be brought up, and I'm glad they actually answered it and give us some feedback on that, because I know I know a lot of people was asking that in the chat. So thanks for answering that, devs. Let's see. Korn, did you get anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, I was quite interested in the subject of jump packs and other mobility enhancing devices, such as maybe teleporters, because I'd really like to see them.
I love the comment about jump packs where they said they've been testing it. Some guy, one of the fans, let's call them Crusaders, because we're all Crusaders now, suggested that maybe they can stick to walls and stuff, and now they've implemented it. Now they're all like sticking to walls. For some reason, the first thing I imagined when they said that was Night Lords
Spider-Man.
all being Batman, hanging off stuff.
All I was going to ask was, how many people had a level from Super Mario 64 immediately come to mind?
Yeah.
Just wall jumping.
I personally think that might be quite cool. You can grab onto something on the wall and jump off it and hit someone. I think that might be really cool. But again, it depends how the level design is.
It gives you like another way to attack a fortress or something. Like you can get to places where normal troops can't get. Maybe you can bounce off the walls and up to the top of a wall where troops are firing down on your friendly.
I'm also
At first, I didn't like the idea. I thought it was too much like Spider-Man, and I was like, it's not really good. And then I thought about it, and it's like, yeah, that's not actually as bad as I thought.
I think with any system can be abused, and I think this could be abused in a way. But obviously, it's up to the people in the beta to test this out. Give their feedback if this is working or not. Because I personally think it's a great idea that you can hang off walls, but I can see people, maybe trying to jump to certain bits of the map you're not supposed to go to, because you're clinging onto walls and you can jump it there and jump it there and jump it there. Some kind of jumping puzzle.
What I was going to say was, it makes it more. That sort of use makes it a bit more open to the other races, because whereas orcs also have jump packs, Eldar don't, but they're quite athletic. So you can imagine something like a striking scorpion clambering directly up a wall,
Oh yeah,
wall jumping like the others.
Now, with the whole jump pack, how do you think jump pack should work? Do you think they should go down like the Space Marine route where you have a couple of seconds up in the air, or should they do it different way? Something like I don't. I think we've all played PlanetSide 2 here, but what about their class? How they did their light assault?
I think it will greatly depend on the race, because the Eldar swooping falcons, for example, don't jump in the air and crash down on the ground. They have.
Oh yeah, I forgot about them.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
they're
orcs,
also not
Space
melee
Marines
either. They're kind of flying snipes, pretty much, if they get in game.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So it could work differently. As far as I understand, Space Marines don't use their jump packs to hover, unless you read Goto, where they.
Let's no.
We're not speaking them dark days on this podcast. No,
frankly, I'm more interested to know whether the jump pack will be a piece of equipment or a class trait.
Yeah, that's true.
So, could you, in theory, have a marine with a jump pack and a bolter or a stalker Balkan, so you could gain a vantage point with the jump pack and then proceed to snipe the enemy?
I'd personally be against that because they seem to be much more of a class-orientated system, and all I've got in the image in my head is of assault marines. All our squads of assault marines are with melter guns.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
I'd like them to stick with the traditional assault marine when it comes to jump pack. You've got like basically a pistol and close combat weapon.
Yeah.
I think what I would like to be added with the assault is that maybe when you're in the air and there's say I'm a Space Marine, I'm doing assault, and there's a Chaos Space Marine and he jumps in the air. I'd like to hit him in the air. Now with Space Marine you couldn't do that because if you press your melee button, you smash down to the ground. I'd really like some kind of like air duel so you can just like hit each other as you're like jumping up and stuff. I think that might be quite cool. I have no idea how they implement it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, developers would have a nightmare trying to create the physics for that. I mean, the only way I can think of doing it...
One thing I'd like them to do... Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
One thing I'd like them to do is put a hitbox on the jump pack, or say a Storm Boys rocket pack, where you could shoot it and maybe disable it so they can't jump away. So you can run in and smash it or shoot them from range again without them escaping too fast.
Or if they're in the air and you shoot it, it fires them off into the distance and they explode.
Yeah, they come crashing down.
That'd be awesome.
That'd
be hilarious. Yeah, so jump packs. I think that. Yeah, I think I from the gameplay footage we saw going back last week, we didn't really see that much of jump packs. Obviously, we saw a guy with the modelled jump pack on and stuff, but we didn't really see the actual jumping combat physics that much. So hopefully we'll see some more of that soon, and we can go on for that subject from there.
Yes.
And lastly, Traejun, what did you find on the podcast? Sorry, not the podcast, the AMA that you liked.
Yeah, I mean, there were obviously quite a few things, but I'm going to stick to everyone's favorite loot, and specifically, why is there loot, and other than, let's say, ammunition, grenades, things like that are maybe more ubiquitous from faction to faction, maybe, and what is it that you would be looting? My only question, lore-wise, and I know we're going to do some lore bashing in this, which is perfectly fine. Other than orcs, who picks up other people's things and uses them right away? And what do you guys think about that?
I can imagine Chaos doing that quite happily.
Yeah, I think obviously Chaos, they pick up anything. They're like, the crows of the 40k. They just scavenge anything. But for stuff like Space Marines.
I think the most they could loot is ammo from Chaos Marines, but even that is debatable.
I think some chapters won't do that. I personally, I couldn't see this. This is going off lore. I couldn't see a Ultramarine looting a Word Bearer's corpse for stuff.
But
I can't see any Space Marine looting other than Blood Ravens, obviously.
I have read books where they've been desperate enough to do it, like Dead Sky, Black Sun, but that was pretty much a do-or-die situation where no
Yes.
to complete.
And let's remember the Space Wolf 13th Company, who spent, 10,000 years in the Eye of Terror scavenging Chaos Marines?
Well, not even that. Think of the Space Wolf chats themselves. If you go with William King's books, I think they nick a Grand Cruiser back off of Chaos, purify, so now it's their fleet.
Now, with going back to the actual lore loot, I think what I've taken is that you got to get most of the loot from the NPC stuff, so the Tyranid kind of stuff, and their dungeons. So I can see it. You know, you're actually getting stuff from there, but then again, it revolves around the whole story of the game. Of why we're there and stuff. Now, if this planet holds certain things, you know, why everyone's drawn there, because everyone is drawn here for a reason. They've made that out now. And Miguel nearly actually dropped it on the AMA, but everyone covered his mouth up, which was hilarious. So I can see, you know, if you do something like you go into a dungeon and you fight loads of Tyranids, and you're fighting to get like a certain relic, and that relic, you know, it may be like a special bolter that belongs to such and such, and it's got, you know, such and such stats and stuff like that. I can see you getting stuff like that. But, well, you know, looting general Chaos corpses, I personally think they may do it where, you know, when you get these shooters and you kill someone and they drop a little bit of ammo on the floor and you run over it, maybe they can do it like that, but I'm not really sure, to be honest. I personally wouldn't want it like that.
The only thing that really comes to mind is having corpses already there. Let's say if you're fighting the Tyranid tunnels, which we know are going to be there, having bodies of certain factions already be down there with ammunition to take.
Ooh, yeah,
otherwise,
teams, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, I was going to say it becomes a bit difficult to do because you can't have an Eldar stealing bolts from a Space Marine because their guns can't fire it. I mean, the best they can do is just pick up the magazines and throw them at people.
Yeah, and on that subject, actually going into the dungeons, and we're just going to hop off the loot thing for a second. They actually said that if we're in like a dungeon and Tyranids and stuff, and we actually pick up this item that could help us in our campaign, or, you know, it's kind of loot, they're thinking of crossing that over with PvP, so on your way out, other groups of players can try and ambush you and take your hard-earned stuff off you, which
is pretty nice.
Yeah, I think that works out quite good.
I think that's absolutely great mechanic.
That's pretty nice until it happens to you.
The fact that when you're coming out, it might be that they're just allowed to actually physically come in and actually attack you while you're in there still. So
yeah, it's a great way to add a PvP sprinkle to a PvE aspect of the game.
Has anyone played Dark Souls?
Yes.
So that's what it was kind of frustrating when you were playing single player and then someone from the internet would pop into your game, load it out as a specific PvP build, and just murder you without any efforts and spoil your progress.
It was, but that was part of how the game works. It was part of its charm in the end of the day, really.
I understand, but some people might find that a bit too frustrating.
Well, maybe they can separate it where you have just PvE dungeons and you have PvE/PvE dungeons as well, where, you know, if you go into this dungeon here, you're just fighting Tyranids, but if you go into that dungeon there, which may have better loot, you're going to be fighting other players and the PvE environment. You know, so people can pick. If they give choices for everyone and don't force people to do, okay, you need to do PvP to get this item.
Yeah.
You know, if they break it up,
it could be something as simple as you just flag yourself when you're going into the PvE event.
Yeah.
I think they also said something like you would have to make a choice and be conscious of the choice you made, and by making it, you would know that you opened yourself up to attack from other players.
Yeah.
So potentially, you know, you can go through a part of the dungeon and no one else can get to you. But if you want to keep going down, you have to break some wall that then will let in other players if they so desire.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I like
awesome
it.
Idea.
Seems good.
Awesome idea. I really hope that actually comes out and we get to see stuff like that, because I really enjoy PvP and PvE mixed together. It's one of my favourite kind of gameplay modes. Now, let's get back to loot, for a matter of fact. Now, we've learned in the past off Miguel that obviously this game is good. Obviously, you buy the game, you unlock all the classes, etc. For the people who don't buy the game, they can play orcs up to a certain class. Now, obviously, to support the game, you're going to have to buy stuff. Now, Miguel stated that you can actually buy a certain kind of gun, but that gun would not be as powerful as the gun I've looted in game and earned. Do you think that's right?
I think it's perfectly fine,
Yes.
so long as they have it for pretty much everything. I mean, let's face it, a lascan is still a lascan, as we said last time. But to have early access to it ahead of everyone else, even if it's slightly weaker, still will give you an edge.
I was actually hoping that they wouldn't do guns and stuff actually on the should we call it an auction house? I don't know what we should call it.
Like a cash shop.
Let's call it the
Just
cash shop.
store.
Yeah, the store. Let's call it the store. I really hope they didn't do weapons on the store. I was hoping for more of a cosmetic kind of thing. You know, where you can, add symbols to your army. Maybe you can buy a skull or something and stick it there. You can buy stuff for your chapter quarters or your battle badge. Just to make it look really nice. A more of a cosmetic feel where everything you buy won't affect the actual gameplay. Going against other people, it just affects the way you look in game.
Well, that would be all right, but most of the stuff you're talking about, the games those come from, are from games where you rarely, if ever, lose the items that you pick up. Whereas in this one, it's always been quite clearly specified. Was a low chance of it happening. You can be ninja looted and killed, having your stuff looted, as we said in Tyranny Tunnels, or lose your items. So being able to buy it back, there's that incentive to do it, but it doesn't feel overly cheap, at least as far as I can tell at the moment.
Yeah. You see, Guild Wars at their store, and they sold weapons, but they didn't sell weapons. They sold weapon skins. So you could have the most awful sword in the world, but if you bought this, you could buy like the most amazing skin for it. So you can do it like that, which I think is really nice as well.
Oh, I see. So you could have some sort of new player going to battle. There's a tactical marine, but he's got a banner saying something like "I'm the one who knocks," charging ahead into everyone.
Just to, let's say, pimp himself out to be, to stand out in the battlefield and stuff.
It'll be quite hilarious.
Yep.
Because it works out in two ways. It works out, the person is getting enjoyment from it. He's enjoying the way he looks. He looks cool. He's having fun. And the company are getting money for giving him that enjoyment. So they get money for it, and the guy gets enjoyment. It's a win-win situation. It keeps the game going. He keeps playing. I just really don't hope it becomes one of them stores like PlanetSide 2 where you can just buy weapons without earning them. Like, you can buy rocket launchers that multiple fire stuff, and they're really deadly against aircraft and stuff. I just really doesn't go down that route because it's absolutely horrible.
Well, at least in PlanetSide 2 you can buy it with in-game currency without spending actual money.
I know we speak about PlanetSide 2 a lot because I think that is the game that we're most comparing it to, because I think that's the only idea that I've got. Yeah, it's a good reference. And now, actually, in the AMA, they actually played. Miguel said he got everyone on to PlanetSide 2, and they all played it, and they visualized it as Eternal Crusade. Okay, let's play this as we're playing Eternal Crusade. And Miguel said the thing he hated the most was dying a lot. As soon as you spawned, you died. You spawned, you died. You spawned, you died. And that is a big thing in PlanetSide 2. If you get in the correct area and you're attacking, all you have to do is drop mines and stuff out the spawn room and just get someone to shoot them, and it kills everyone inside the spawn room. How do you think they could counter that in Eternal Crusade?
By
Gotta
Level
make
design.
you gotta make
Quite
everyone
easy,
tougher.
Good level design.
Yeah. But that's a very loose term, actually.
Do you think they should have spawn rooms? I don't see spawn rooms where you spawn in, but player protected rooms where you can run in and not get shot.
I think you should. I mean,
I think you should be able to stay there after you spawn, but you should not be able to get back into them after you left them.
Well, if you think about it, Space Marines take a lot of damage. Chaos Space Marines take a lot of damage. Orcs take a lot of damage.
It all depends on how you spawn in.
Yeah, that's another factor of it. You know, if you charge into 10 guys, it's your own fault if you die. But obviously, if you spawn in and you're one-on-one, some guy just mows you down as soon as you spawn in, you gotta get frustrated. I think they need to add something where, you know, the character you're playing needs to feel heroic in whatever race you're playing. You know, if you're an orc, you need to feel like the biggest and baddest boy. If you're a space marine, you need to feel like, you know, you've been sent here by the Emperor himself to kick ass. And, you know, I really hope they buff that up a bit in the play stuff. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I'll just add real quick that with respawning, there should probably be, you know, a few seconds where you're spawn protected, so no one can just hang out with a, you know, stalker bolter queued in on where people spawn and just start capping people. I also think that the spawn point should be far enough away from the battlefield that you can't just zerg things to death. When a battle's not going your way, it should actually cost you a loss instead of being able to just respawn, keep coming, and eventually win.
Yeah, that's
very
great.
true.
Yeah, that's really good.
Pretty much.
Right, I know we've all picked some stuff, so I'm just gonna get something off this list. I got a big bullet points. Let's do some quick firing ones. Right, so they confirmed there's headshots, so that's good. If you get shot in the head, you get headshotted. Who would have thought? Melee combos can be interrupted. What do you think about that?
I think
it's pretty natural, I think. Makes sense.
Now, is it going to be like the Space Marine kind of block where you double tap F and you stamp the ground and you knock back a bit? Or is it going to be like you raise, you know, if you're fighting with melee, do you raise your chainsaw and stop his chainsaw, do you think? Or is it just going to be like a slap in the face and it just stuns it back a bit?
I would hope
it's hard to tell.
Full-on block, like a parry or a shoulder bash to move them back out so they miss. Something like that.
I'd like a shoulder bash sort of situation because that could work for Eldar too. If you get in super close, it's not like a Space Marine can hit you with a chainsword if you're right up against him.
Yes, I'd love to see Eldar shoulder bashing Space Marines.
No, just
get back.
Perfect.
Done.
No, but better they bitch slap them into being stunned.
Now
but like with Eldar, you've got like such as Striking Scorpions have the Mandy Blaster. Maybe you could do something with them to interrupt attacks.
That's actually a very interesting idea. Yeah.
Banshees have their Scream. Maybe you could use that as an interrupt on an attack.
And Guardians have plasma
awesome idea,
which they can drop at their feet.
Now let's tread some water on a subject that has scared probably all of us in the channel. Is that they were talking about servers. Now they're working on a huge server we can all play on with this this stuff working out. I forgot what the software's called. Excuse me.
Pico server.
Pico, that's it. Pico, thank you. Now they did mention that if this doesn't work, they will actually look into regionalised servers. I know coming from me, I'm from the UK. Khan is in Canada. Korn, you're in Russia. Traejun, you're on the west coast of the US, and Calith, you're in the UK with me. Now,
so it couldn't get worse.
We're on the same chapter, and we've been with each other for 3 years now, and I think it would be absolutely horrible if we had to say, okay guys, we're all going on this server and that guy's got to suffer because we're going on this server. I really hope they can get this one server working so we can all enjoy it together, because I think that's going to be the biggest nightmare, because you're seeing a lot of people forming up at the moment and they're getting into their head that, you know, oh, we can all play together. I know what was that Star game called again? I forgot who did it, who had the one big server.
EVE Online?
EVE Online. Now, EVE Online had one big server, but again, Korn stated before we start the podcast, EVE Online is not this kind of game, you know. I'm sure with EVE Online as well, when the big clans go against each other, they warn the server admins, and the server admins like give them more bandwidth on that certain time and certain date as well, so it doesn't wreck the entire service, which is a pretty cool idea. So maybe,
yeah, they do this. They do this thing called time dilation, where they essentially slow everyone up so that everyone's latency is roughly the same.
And of course, you'd have a hell of a time doing that with any game where you're fighting directly without a spreadsheet, shall we say.
Now, if it did end up going to regional servers, touch wood. If it did end up going to regional servers, I think the next scariest thing of that being, will it be region locked? Because I think that may be a bit horrible as well. People not being able to play
That'd
with
be
their
an
friends.
absolute nightmare for us.
Yeah, and
It would be.
I think that would be a nightmare for most of the people as well, because a lot of people, obviously the internet now, everyone's connected around the world, and you want to play with your friends, and of course you have friends all over the world now. It's not like it was 20 odd years ago and stuff like that, where your friend was sat in the living room with you. You have friends all over the world, so I think region locking must be out of the question for them. Regional servers, obviously, if the one server doesn't work properly, I can completely understand if they're having lag issues and stuff. I'm just really hoping they can get that working for everyone's benefit, not just ours, because I think that would really add to the actual atmosphere of the game, because it would be a huge. I don't even think I can get that through my head how much of a scale that would be.
The
Everyone
biggest
on that one.
hurdle I see them getting around is like what you've already discussed, where there's so much happening on screen. There has to be some giveaway somewhere, whether it's the internet or the person's computer. And you have to come to a compromise sometime.
Yeah, like I said, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But hopefully they can get it worked out.
With luck, yeah.
Now, yeah, let's pick something else. Here's one. They have plans to make all shapes and sizes for Tyranids. Now, does that give us information on what kind of Tyranids we're going to go against? Do you think we're going to see some of the big Tyranid units?
I'm just going to drop it out here. Scalable Biotitans.
Oh my god.
You see, that's one thing I was going to say they might not do, stuff like Morlocks, because I can see them doing Warriors, perhaps Carnifexes, but something that big, I imagine that'd be safe for events more than anything else if they did do it.
Yeah, where you need to get like entire strike forces together to take it up. You're talking like maybe, I don't know, even as many as 150 players taking on this giant Titan. That would be really cool.
It'd be interesting.
It would be, yeah. Especially if it can be scaled.
Yeah, I think it would really add to the game, if let's do this as, let's try and visualize it as Exterminatus in Space Marine. You get to a certain wave and all of a sudden a Carnivax comes out of somewhere and you're like, oh my god. It's one of them moments, seeing that kind of beast on the field. I think that would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah. I mean, Carnifexes are scary, but I'd be more disturbed by a Swarm Lord. Swarm Lord coming in, absolute nightmare.
Jesus. Yep, Swarm Lords. Ooh. I think we'll need a full chapter for that, to take that one out. Let's kill it all. Burn it. Now, okay, let's pick something else. Here is one. Stealth for Eldar, and it's in brackets, maybe. Now, do you think Eldar should be a stealthy race?
Not for all units.
I think if anyone should, they should.
That's true.
Yep, I'm agreed on that.
Because as much as I like Space Marine Scouts, the Eldar have much more experience with it, and they are pretty much an army of elf ninjas with shuriken weapons.
And they have the psychic powers to back it up.
Scorpions
exactly.
Make the game, that is part of their tactic. So it makes sense to have it in for them, definitely.
Yeah, it would make sense.
At least some of their units should have it. Maybe not all.
Oh yeah, of course. I think then again that could be like a hero class trait as well. If you do
area
kind
buff
of stuff.
Yeah, could be an area buff. That would be interesting.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here. What about Orc Commandos getting it? Stealth and all.
I'd be interested to see them, but I'm not sure if they'd be included or not, because most of the York talk you see around the forums is generally about mech boys building the biggest guns imaginable, rather than sneaking in and beheading. Hell's that story about an entire cabinet of Imperial Guard officers?
Thing is, though, Commandos are really loved by the fans, or fans. I'd be disappointed if they didn't make it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll see a bit more stuff on how stealth would work in the game. I personally do believe I think Eldar should have the most stealth in game. From a lore standpoint. Just as that. Next point. Oh, Founders Packs. Now, this was discussed a lot. Everyone was spamming this question. They said Founders Packs will offer unique, let's do air quotes, things that nobody else will have. Now, what kind of things do you think we'll have in these Founders Packs?
Cosmetics.
Or what kind of things would you like to see in these Founders Packs?
Take my money.
Yeah, still throwing the money at the screen since they said that.
I was looking at the Warhammer Online Collector's Edition today, and I'm really hoping if you get these Foundation Packs, I really want models. You know, Warhammer's models. I would like a limited edition model or something. Just something cool like that.
But obviously, the problem with that is 4 races in. You're gonna have to pick one race for the mini that goes with it.
Well, maybe you can have like certain amounts, like limited edition Founders Packs, where for each race, where you have 500 for Orcs, 500 for Space Marine. You get like a model of each, something like that. Because I'm sure that can be done. With Games Workshop's process of putting out models, I'm sure that can be easily achieved.
I was going to say, one of the things we were discussing before this started was certain collector's packs for video games. I think someone brought up Aliens Colonial Marines. That featured a single model in it, but it was well enough made to warrant going out of your way to buy it, even when the game was bad.
Yep.
Yeah, one of our members, Colleen, he actually bought that pack more or less for that model because he loved it so much, and it was an incredible model. Eye candy like that sells stuff. Of course we want the game to be amazing as well, but if you offer stuff like that, people will buy it. I think people will buy it anyway, to be honest. I know I'd buy anything. They can just throw something at me and I'd buy it.
I'd like to see some limited aesthetics, like metics put in, maybe.
Maybe a certain piece of armor.
They give you a certain
that you won't be able to
get.
Or maybe
in the store.
Decorations for the chapter ship. Special decorations.
Ooh, that could. Well,
that'd be nice.
I remember Miguel said. I don't know if this is still on track, but he said, if guilds and stuff, they'll be doing guild founder packs. So if you get 40 people to put money into this, founder pack, 40 people for 40,000, of course. Then you'd earn a guild founder pack, which could be cool as well. So maybe like you said, you could get like ship stuff and stuff like that for it, which would be amazing. Obviously, cosmetics is a big thing, like Khan said. Certain pieces of armor, maybe a cloak, even a weapon skin or something to put on your pose. Say if you rolled in Ultramarines, you get a fancy Ultramarine shoulder guard instead of the standard one you start off with.
So you mean like what was it? How you could unlock better armor variants in Space Marine?
Yeah, but if you buy the founder pack, you won't be able to get it in game.
I get what you're saying. Be able to purchase via the founder pack certain alterations you can switch around.
Yeah, you can have. I don't know if the game's gonna have titles, but maybe a title or something like that. Founder or something.
That would be nice.
Founder packs, I hope they're sensibly priced and not like Star Citizen, where you can only buy average stuff for like a normal game price, and then like for all the really cool stuff that's in it, you've got to pay. You've basically got to remortgage your house, more or less.
Yeah, I was looking at I think it's the Retaliator Bomber, and I was basically thinking of selling my kidney to get that because I wanted it that much. I was like, should I? Do I really need it? Yeah.
Yeah, you can live with one kidney. You don't need it.
We're coming to the end of the show. We've got 5 minutes left, according to my clock. I want to go over one last subject, and I think this is one of the, if not the vital subject, and it is publisher. Who do you think should publish this game? I know Miguel said he asked people in chat, and the big no was, do not go to EA. Jesus.
Definitely not.
Do not go to EA. And I can agree with that, because EA... Basically, my personal opinion, EA killed Warhammer Online for me. When that game was released, it was so bugger, and then I read some dev posts with people who, weren't happy how the game was rushed out and stuff, so...
I was going to say, we've all heard the horror stories of them doing stuff like shoving out Dragon Age 2, and I think it was beta or something like that.
I actually tweeted Miguel, I think it was yesterday, asking him, why can't Behaviour publish the game? Why don't you do something like a Kickstarter? So, we the people who want this game to be published by the people actually doing it could actually, kickstart it and, help fund the publishing, because at the end of the day, the only people who got to benefit from it are us. So we might as well help get the right publisher for the game. But obviously, if that doesn't happen...
I can guarantee you 40k fans would jump on it with droves to help get it out and get it going.
I definitely think they would. I definitely think they would. I think
sure.
I think it would be a right direction for it. But obviously, if they don't do that, which company would you like to see?
Speaking personally, I'd say Deep Silver, but they did publish Ride to Hell Retribution, so they've got a good track record. They're far from flawless.
Me personally, anybody that will give them enough time to finish the game to the standard they want to finish it.
Yeah, and not mess too much in the game itself.
Yeah, well, he did say that he's been speaking to him since the game went into more or less production. He's been speaking to people, so it's one of these things that Star Citizen did well, because of Star Citizen's Kickstarter now. They can, they are in charge of when this game comes out. It's not the other way around with certainly with Mythic and Warhammer Online, so even though EA bought Mythic Online and stuff. But I think that's what needs to happen with this game. They need to say, okay, this game comes out when we're ready, not when you're ready. Something.
Yeah, pretty much.
Definitely something like that. If they didn't go with a Kickstarter and stuff, and they didn't publish it themselves, I was thinking of maybe Sega, because I know Sega's got the Warhammer Fantasy rights now, and they're going to be doing a game of Warhammer Fantasy. Now maybe they can cross that over and do like a marketing strategy or something like that.
I'd
something cool like that.
I'd say I'd agree with you, but it depends upon the involvement of Sega Japan, which is becoming increasingly insane of late.
Now, on the whole publishing thing as well, do you think this game's actually going to be on disc? I really don't think it will be on disc. I think it'll be like something like PlanetSide 2, where you just download it off a server. So I don't think...
it could go...
the collector's edition would be on disc. With extra stuff like art books, soundtrack, and etc. etc.
Well, sorry, Calith. Well, if you look at the Star Citizen backers, you can have the CD version of a certain backed product and a digital version of a backed product. So you can get the manual in your hand, or you can get a manual in the PDF, which I think may be a good way to go for people who want discs and stuff. I personally don't. I don't think the last disc I actually used in my disk drive was installing Windows on it. That's the last disc I actually used in my disk drive.
Discs are actually good for people that have download limits.
That's true.
And a lot of Eastern European countries are still limited to what they can download them on. Even some places in America.
And the other thing I was going to say was, even though it's questionable how effective it is, having something on the shelf does bring a bit more public awareness. I know you've got plenty of examples where it hasn't been true. Like Minecraft became a global phenomenon long before it hit any shelves, but it might just bring a bit more attention to certain people.
Yeah, that's true again. Yeah, having something on the shelf people just walk past and go, "Oh, that game looks nice." Oh, yeah, I get that, and then
Yeah.
they may not even be fans of the genre. They just pick it up and just go, that looks cool. That's what happened with me in World of Warcraft when I started playing World of Warcraft years and years ago. I walked past and thought, "Oh, that looks cool. What's an MMO?" 6 months later, still was out the Elvish startup area. I was like, Jesus, how do I play this game?
Yeah, and
Well,
even
yep.
if stuff's advanced quite a bit long since then, there's still I wouldn't say an inconsiderable amount of people who might still notice it a bit more if it's just on shelves.
Well, I think we can all agree that EA is a no. Don't go to EA.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll. Well, I'm hoping they'll do something like a Kickstarter and stuff. I know Miguel retweeted back to me saying that he's got to make a post on it next week on the forum, so maybe we'll get something tomorrow. And this is Sunday now, so Monday, hopefully we'll see something then of it. I'm really hoping that he'd take some fans' advice on it and get some feedback of people who want to make that happen and help the game out in any way possible. And that's the end of the podcast for this week. I'd like to thank Traejun, Korn, Khan and Calith for coming. Thanks for the discussions, thanks for all the feedback you've given. I'd like to thank everyone for watching. Not the people who are actually watching live, but also the people who are watching on YouTube. If you are watching this on YouTube, please rate, subscribe and comment if you like what you see. Or you've got any questions we want us to answer next week, then just bang them in the comments and we'll try and get back to you. Thanks for watching. See you all next week, Sunday at 2100 GMT. Thanks guys, bye bye.